Once upon a time, not all that long ago, our communities were a little different than they are today. They were less urban, and they were always centered somewhere, usually a church or a school. I can remember the church that I went to as a boy that my ancestors had helped to build. Sometimes they were nestled in the trees on a hill. I invite you for a minute to close your eyes for 30 seconds maybe even, and visualize, if you can, a place like that that you remember that was the center of a community and was pretty important in that community. Okay, you got that? Now I bring us back to today and the community that's here in this room right now. And I want to share with you, particularly those of you younger than I am, which includes a few of you, some words of wisdom for the people who met in those little churches, in those little communities, many of them rural, and shared some values, and knew without speaking out loud that if my grandfather's barn burned down, there would be men in that church who would gather and sympathize, and then when the ashes cooled, they would help rebuild the barn. So here's some things in three categories that I believe are words and actions from my ancestors and maybe some of yours. The three categories are some things that matter, some things that don't matter, and some things that matter less than you might think. Obviously, these are my values and my ancestors, and you don't have to share them all, but here they are. Here are some things that matter. Number one, your family. I believe that your family is your first tribe and worth respecting and valuing because they will stick with you when others desert you. Number two, your community. That's another tribe later on usually, but here is a community. If you can find one, my ancestors and I recommend that you join it, support it, find out what its covenant is, sign a book if they have it, because they will hold you up when everything seems black. They'll bring the covered dish and they'll hold your hand. Number three, your real friends, not your Facebook friends. Friends who've got your back and will be there when you need them. You know who they are. Number four, among the things that matter, is your ability to think for yourself and not be taken in by falsehoods. Every one of you has a crap detector. It's buried deep down, but you know how to pull it up, and you know how to apply it, and you know when what you're hearing or seeing is crap. Number five, among the things that matter are your dreams and plans for your future. Hold on to them, even if others say they'll never happen, because you can make them happen. And if they're your dreams, they belong to you and no one else. Number six, helping others, even when no one is watching and you don't get any credit for it, because that tends to get reciprocated. People remember when you help them, and they'll come back and help you. Number seven, showing respect for everyone, even those people who don't seem to respect you in return. Number eight, admitting out loud in public when you were wrong. So there's a short list of some things that I believe my ancestors in their community considered important enough to matter, and they became the framework for their lives and the way they treated each other. Now here's the list of a few things that don't matter. Number one, I just called it stuff, especially the kind of stuff that draws attention to you by showing it off, and you know what I mean. Number 2, social media friends, that's in quote, who can easily unfriend you, that's in quote. Number 3, yesterday's mistakes, pain, or shame. Get over it. It really doesn't matter, especially if you remembered to apologize. Number 4, names that others call you in efforts to cause you pain. I don't believe that matters. And unless you internalize that, it shouldn't matter. That's their problem. And finally, number 5 on my short list of things that don't matter are most of the things that keep you awake at night thinking about them and thinking that you will fail or that you should devote time to worry about them. Worrying about them really won't change anything. So there's 2 lists, things that matter, things that don't matter. And finally, here are some things that might matter less than you may think. Number 1, who is the president? You see, there are checks and balances and good people watching out, and we still live in a democracy, and we will still oversee and supervise and not allow things that don't represent our values. And that's testified by the Women's March and going to support our Muslim brothers and sisters. We see it every day. Number 2, among the things that might matter less than you must think is how much money you have. If you have good friends and family to support you, then it really doesn't matter all that much how much money you have. And finally, what people say about you, good or bad, may matter a lot less than what you may think. So there's my short list of 3 categories of things that matter, things that don't matter, and things that might matter less than you may think. I'm proud to have been a small sponsor of today's service and proud of Jan for being the leader of a community that I value very much.